channel. How are you guys all doing? Hello to existing subscribers and to any new ones. It's been a while since I've done a sit-down video like this. As some of you may know, my day job is as an ecologist, and during this time of year, at least in Ireland anyway, June, July and August are our busiest periods. I work with bats a lot of the time, and most of our survey work gets done during this period. So the time for filming videos and editing videos is far less at this time of year. So I just want to say thank you for all being so understanding of that. You know, it's amazing to see people still coming back to the channel, even though I haven't been uploading like regularly for a while now. But I just really appreciate that. I'm hoping to film a couple of videos today. I have the whole day to spend on videos and YouTube. So yes, let's get into it. I thought that a good video to start off with is a bit of an update on my Wildflower Meadow and how that's doing. So that has like burst into life. It's all in flower, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how it's doing, any issues I've seen so far and things I could have done better, and what I think of it all really. Then for the second half of the video, I'll just show you a little walk around in general, the outdoor garden, just quickly to show you what's been going on. It's the best time of year for gardening. Everything's in bloom, everything's just fantastic. We are actually having a heat wave in Ireland at the moment. It is currently 29.8 degrees in this plant room right now. It's over 30 outside, which is very unusual for us. That's Celsius, by the way. But yeah, that's very unusual for us, and it's really hot and we don't have any air conditioning. So if I start sweating, that's why. So if you haven't watched the original video on how to make a wildflower meadow and any issues for biodiversity, I will link that video as a card here. So this is like the update of that. So since the original video, everything's grown up, come to life, everything's in flower, and it's all come up. As I said in that original video, I wasn't really preparing the strip of soil in the way that is recommended. So it's recommended to fully remove any plant material or seeds and things like that, to have like a fully just blank canvas, so to speak, as your soil, so that when the seeds do germinate and the wildflowers start growing, that they don't have any competition and they have enough space to actually, you know, become real plants and get to flower. Now, I didn't do that for a number of reasons. The biggest one, laziness. The second one is that a lot of the soil that I had used to raise that strip, it was a bit lower and I wanted it raised, was actually just excavated out from where the shed is now in our garden. So a lot of that had kind of roots and plant material and stuff already in it. It also feels quite unnatural to me. I know that that is the way that you're meant to do it, but it does feel quite strange to me to be moving native weeds, which are flowers, which do flower, to facilitate this. But, you know, I fully accept that the reasons why I did that are not, it's not the way you're meant to do it, okay? Because of that, I do have some kind of patchy areas in the strip, particularly near the shed on one side and then near the rosebush on the other side, as well as a couple of bits in between where obviously the plants that were already there, which in general were like buttercups and dandelions, they weren't like grasses or anything like that. They kind of took over that, and there's only one or two kind of straggly wildflowers that were able to come up. Fully agree that that is my own doing. I haven't really decided what I'm going to do about that in the future, if I will actually clear that for maybe like a September, October sowing so that they show up next spring. I haven't decided yet. If you've any ideas, let me know. I definitely want it to still continue to be within that wildflower strip. So I got the seeds from a company in Ireland called Connecting to Nature. I did a little giveaway in collaboration with them recently on my Instagram. Not recently, ignore that, that was a couple of months ago. And I got their native seed mix from them. It has come up and they look great, they are natives. I haven't seen any invasive species or anything like that. I did discuss in my first video about any particular issues that can arise when you're doing things like this with wildflower seeds. No issues there, which is fantastic. The mix is meant to have both a mixture of annuals and perennials. If I'm not mistaken, the only ones that I've seen show up so far are the annuals. I'm not quite sure why that is. There may be a very obvious reason for that I haven't clocked onto yet. Maybe the perennials come a little bit later. I'm not really sure. But the vast majority of the bed is now in flower. So the species that are currently there and have come up are corn poppy, I've written them down. Corn poppy, corn cockle, corn flower, all of the corns. Scented mayweed, which is lovely and beautiful, and corn marigold. So when I show you the kind of way that it looks, I will put an ID of each one so you can get a bit familiar with it. However, I have written down what the mix says it also contains, but I haven't seen come up yet. This may be due to the time of year, maybe these things just come up later. I'm not saying that there's any issues with the mix or anything, but that's just what's come up for me right now. So the ones that are supposed to be in the mix but I haven't seen yet are Devil's Bit scabious, which I actually do have in my garden in pots. They're a beautiful flower. Red clover, which I have in my grass. Bird's foot trefoil or trefoil. Black medic, wild carrot, common knapweed, ribwort plantain, also in my grass, and St. John's wort, as well as lady's bedstraw, yarrow, self-healed yellow rattle, oxeye daisy, cowslip, loosestrife, and meadowsweet, which I also have in my garden in separate pots. I don't know if it's my fault that I haven't seen these come up yet, but that's just the way that it's been. So I also had a couple of things come up that weren't in the mix, that were just weeds, obviously in the soil or whatever, that I have removed, and that was mainly charlock. That came up and flowered, but I pulled it out completely before it went to seed. I left it flower there and left it grow. That's also one of the videos because the pollinators love them and they were enjoying all the flowers, so I didn't want to take that away from them really. One thing I will say that, in my first video, I kind of talked about how beneficial this really is to our native pollinators, and the Wildflower Meadow is really beneficial to our pollinators, but they also need other things to complete their life cycle, to have shelter, to have hibernation areas and things like that. One thing I will say about the Wildflower Meadow that I've noticed, they've grown really, really tall. They kind of flopped over now. And, all of that dense underneath foliage is a really, really great haven for a lot of our insects. And I've seen hoverflies, butterflies, flies themselves, bees, wasps. I've seen all sorts of things using the strip. Which is really nice to see, but it also provides them a little bit of shelter. I've seen moths use areas in there to kind of hide, to come out later in the day because of this heat wave that we've been having. I've seen a lot of bumblebees and things like that crawling in. It's like a little bit of shaded, sheltered area that's safe for them, on top of providing the food through the flowers. So I think when it's in a dense patch like that, it actually can provide even more shelter and things like that than you would previously think. But yeah. I think if you're interested, I will continue to do these little updates on the bed. I do have to kind of do a bit of research, maybe through the Connecting to Nature website, on kind of what happens next in terms of management of the bed. I haven't done anything in terms of management really, other than remove some of those weeds, like I said. But, you know, they're going to go to seed. Am I just going to let it reseed? Most likely. I kind of do that with most of my garden wherever is possible. But I'm not sure what kind of maintenance there should be. So I think that's it really on the Wildflower Meadow. If you have any questions or anything that you want to ask or comment on, please do so below and I'll get back to you. So let's talk about the rest of the garden. So everything looks really lush and lovely and growing really well. There are a couple of things I will comment on. One big update is that I'm painting the fence. I'm painting that fence. I hate the color of that fence so much. The like red brown, and we also have a different brown shed and then a different brown decking. I don't know, some of you might understand, but that really gets to me. So we've been painting the fence. As per usual, I just love taking on projects, you know? And sometimes I'm just like, oh, I'll just do that. But then it turns out to be a far larger project than I had anticipated. I don't know if any of you guys are like that, but I do that all the time. It's not that I don't finish things, it's just that they go on longer than I had planned for them to. So that was a much bigger job than we had anticipated. We are painting it this lovely grey, which you'll see. We're getting there. In this hot weather, because it's a water-based paint, we can't paint when it's really hot because it comes off all wrong, and like the water kind of evaporates too quickly and the wood is too hot. So in Ireland, trying to find a day that's not rainy and not too hot at the moment is kind of hard, which is interesting. But we are getting there. I'm very excited for it to be finished. I think it's totally worth the work, to be honest, especially if we are staying here another year. So that's one big update that I'm really happy about. There are a couple of trees that aren't doing so well from my native trees. I'll also link that video if you're interested. Earlier in the year I got some native bare root trees. Some of them are not doing so well. I'm actually glad that I got kind of two of each one, because there seems to be one of each pair that hasn't done as well. I don't really know why that is. Their care has been the same. It's just one of those things. As an overall, I want the garden to feel a lot more wild than it is. Of course, I love that kind of stuff, but it's quite difficult to do that in a short amount of time, obviously. When I was looking back at videos of the garden earlier in the year, I was like, oh my God, it's changed so much, because I'm just like, no, I want to do this, I want to do this, but I've actually forgotten how much I've done in the garden in such a small space of time. I do wish that I had created a second wildflower strip along the side where the trees are, because that's like the main area of the garden that I just can't really figure out yet. It's like this weird kind of bare strip that I'm not in love with. So I don't know. If you have any tips on that, let me know. Like in the absence of getting like some really big mature trees, which obviously is not going to happen, tips on making it more kind of wild in this setting is something new for me, and I definitely take any suggestions. I will show you around the entire garden now and just briefly talk over everything. But that's it. That's how things are going. I'm very happy. Also loving my sunflowers at the moment, which did look better a few days ago until we got really, really hot weather and they kind of crisped up. So this is how the outdoor garden is looking. I'm so happy with it. You can see we're halfway through painting the fence. We're getting there, And we also got a new barbecue, which is fun. Lou has been really enjoying it and chasing all of the pollinators all over the garden. Here I have some seedlings, some charred dahlias and mint, my red banana and my Irish strawberry tree. rocket, which has seen its day. This is kind of my herb garden area. Nasturtiums really need to be maintained. This is my hazel and wild cherry tree. These are doing the best out of the Irish native trees. There's quite a few sunflowers here that should have been repotted a long time ago, but I just didn't. And the peas really need to be ripped up. This is the area of the garden I was saying I wish I put a wildflower strip there as well. I think it would have just made it feel a bit more complete. I'm not fully sure what to do over there really. And you've seen this already, the best part of the garden. These dahlias are doing really, really well, the pink ones. And those are my elder trees that aren't doing so well, unfortunately. Over here we've quite a few different plants, but I have my avocado here, as well as my 2 devil's bit scabious, which are just about to flower, so I'm really excited to see these come up. And my foxgloves used to be here, but they've been and gone, and I put the seeds back into the pot. I try to do that wherever I can. And this echinacea, which is just so loved by all the bumblebees, my strawberries. Over here, I'm kind of doing a shade garden type of area that gets the least amount of sun. I picked up an order recently of some native Irish ferns here, and I'm gonna do something cool with them. And this oxalis, which is still flowering. So that is it really for the updates on the Wildflower Meadow and the outdoor garden. Let me know if you want me to continue updating you whenever there's kind of something to say throughout the year. So yeah, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm excited to get back into videos again, and just thank you so much for subscribing and watching the videos and commenting. I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, excited to be making more videos for you guys. So thank you so much. I will see you again in the next video. Bye.